BC Lions are 3-0 and ready to take on the Ottawa Roughriders Saturday at BC Place Stadium. General Manager Joe Galat seems a happy man these days after some frustrating years in Montreal.
Well, we're happy with the protection. That was one of the things we looked at in the offseason. Our pass protection had to improve, and it looks like we've been able to accomplish that. Dan Hurley's come in. He's been a big help. Ian Sinclair stepped in, and, of course, Roper and Buis and Jim Mills, they're all doing a good job.
It's interesting, too, not surprising, all due respect to Mervyn Fernandez, but you've really filled that gap nicely.
Well, I think Jim Sandusky, Jimmy the Kid, as they call him, decided that he would have to pick up and do a better job, and he's done that in the intermediate routes. And, of course, Ned Armour looks like he's done it as far as the long bombs. And surprisingly, Tony Parker catches his share of long passes coming out of the backfield.
Now, Ned, of course, he had a good game. I'm thinking back to the Grey Cup game, right, when he came in there, when Mervyn was injured at that time. And then last year was kind of, he was there, but he wasn't there sort of thing. But now he's finding his own, isn't he?
Well, I think that's what happens, John, when you get players who have the opportunity to go out and play week in and week out. Last year, both Jim Sandusky and Ned Armour alternated. Fernandez was a fixture on the other side. Now they have the opportunity to go out and I think just learn and get better.
Prior to the game at 5 o'clock Saturday, there's a pre-game party outside on the lot near the stadium beginning at 3 o'clock. I'm John Oliver. BC Lions are hot right now with wins over Saskatchewan, Calgary, and most recently, the Edmonton Eskimos. Quarterback Roy DeWalt's getting the protection now from an improved offensive line. But does he miss having a tall receiver like Mervyn Fernandez to throw to?
You know, anytime you can get a receiver like Murray, that's great, but if you can't, then you don't do well on it. And we don't have a guy, you know, of his caliber as far as height and some of the things that he can do, but we have guys in here like Ned and Jim who are excellent receivers who can get the job done, and I think they've demonstrated that, and we're doing a good job.
And you got a 3-0 record now, and that's obviously something to be happy with.
Well, you know, anytime you can get your wins early, that's good because it can give you some momentum and gives you confidence, and you just feel good about your overall scheme and some of the things that you're accomplishing. It's especially good that we got off last week when we played Edmonton and got that win up on our belts. They beat us all 4 times last year, so it was good to get that victory on our belts and again, to establish some type of confidence early. And I think, you know, as a unit and as a group, we're coming together, and that's good.
His 8th year in the CFL, 30-year-old Roy DeWalt and the rest of the BC Lions host Ottawa Roughriders Saturday at 5. Receiver Jim Sandusky, along with Ned Armour, is filling the swerving Mervyn Fernandez slot nicely. Jimmy's playing his best season yet, with a big win over the Eskimos last Saturday.
Good game the other night.
Thank you. It was nice to beat them guys.
You always pick on cheerleaders?
Well, I can't see him, I guess. I, felt really bad about that, and I'm just glad she's all right. And, it was just one of the things that happened. And, that's like I said, I feel really bad about it, but that's the game, I guess.
Oh, she's all right. Everything's fine. Okay, your decision to stay with Vancouver, the BC Lions, not to go with the Jets and all that, no regrets there at all?
No, not at all. I made a decision, and I think it was the best. It was, I'm glad I'm back and playing in Vancouver. I'm having fun, and football's fun again, and it's a ball just having some good games and being on a winning team.
You're from the Northwest area, aren't you?
I'm from Washington State, yes.
Yeah, so it's almost like being home, isn't it?
It's, very close, and it's such a lovely area that, I'm glad I'm here.
The Lions host Ottawa Roughriders Saturday night at 5 o'clock. Watch for number 3, Jim Sandusky, to do the job. In the Canadian Football League, the BC Lions were whipped 4 times in '86 by the Eskimos. For 29-year-old Vancouver-born linebacker Kevin Konar, Saturday's regular season victory over Edmonton means a lot.
We had a lot of problems with them last year, so it was really important to establish ourselves with them for the first time we played them, which is last week. And by beating them, we get a monkey off our back. They handled us easily last year, all 4 games, and we always thought we could beat them, but we never did. Now we proved to ourselves we can. We always knew it, but we've done it. So I think it was a big step.
What about you and your career at this point? You pretty satisfied with what you're doing?
I'm happy. I find football still a real challenge. It's during the week it can tend to get a little repetitive, like any job, I guess. But the games are still the ultimate feeling for myself. It's really hard to go out, and if you don't prepare hard and put in the work, you just can't walk on the field and play good football. It's such a competitive job, and I like that. I like the challenge of having to get up and play good, play well every week. And if you don't play well, basically your job is on the line every week, and I guess you get used to living under that little stress and strain, but I think it's great training for anything else I'm going to go into.
In the meantime, Konar and the crew of the BC Lions will suit up for Saturday's game at 5 at BC Place with Ottawa in town.
14P, blue, 15P, 5-3, ready, set, come on.
To say the CFL has some problems is an understatement, but BC Lions GM Joe Gallat, who's used to low attendance headaches from his days with the Concorde in Montreal, sees the heart of a great amount of the difficulties. A part of it, like the Canucks in the NHL, the 5 p.m. starting time is now in place for Lions home games.
Well, the purpose of that, of course, was to attract a better TV viewership, and I think they've been successful at that, but there is a price to pay, and the price to pay is our attendance has fallen off because of that. I think 5 o'clock start time makes it difficult for people who are working. We promised not to do anything until the second quarter, and we just about held true to that. Unfortunately, though, we did let Edmonton score in the first quarter. Now, the defense let down, and basically we had people coming into that ball game up to halftime. They were actually still coming into the game as late as halftime, which was probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 o'clock, 6:15.
Do you miss being on the sidelines?
Well, on occasions. Sometimes when you look down and things are going well, you miss it. But when you look down there and it's tough and things are going, I guess what I do is I have a tendency to look at the underdog. You know, when a coach is losing and he's having trouble and doesn't have as good a talent as the team across the field, I don't miss that feeling at all.
More on the CFL scheduling problems, Gallat feels that the season should start later, like late July or early August, because he feels so many people are on summer vacations, they just don't go to the ball games until the fall. The CFL season's young, but going great for Roy DeWalt, and life off the playing field is sweet for the BC Lions quarterback too.
I'm not complaining at all. There are worse places in the world. You know, I've said all along, this is a gorgeous city, and I really like it here. I like the scenery, and the pace is pretty slow. That's my style, so to speak. I'm from the Houston, Texas area, and it's pretty fast down there. So,
do you ever think ahead? I guess you must 5 years from now or more. What you might be doing?
Well, I don't dwell on it. You know, you have to be prepared, and you have to look ahead and see what's out there and what's available.
And as far as a BC Lions linebacker, what's the daily routine like? Here's Kevin Konar.
I'd get here around 11:30. Work out on the weights by myself or with a couple other players to 12:31, and then watch extra game film on our own from 1 to 2. We meet as a team in our units as linebackers from 2 to about 3. We have special teams meeting from 3 to 3:30, and we're on the field from 3:30 to 5:30, quarter to 6, and that's basically the day. It's from 11:30 to 6. It's a good stretch of time, and it's pretty intense. You don't try to waste a lot of time. I like to get things done while you're here.
Kevin and Roy and the rest of the Lions host Ottawa 5 p.m. Saturday, and there's a 3 p.m. pre-game party on the East Gate lot.